Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ray Tampa Podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. Ray will be out for this episode, but will be back with us for the next podcast. We welcome you back, bro.
Yeah.
I'm Jamie Wilson III, and I will be hosting today's podcast along with the great Russell Cato. Mr. Cato is a retired educator with more than 40 plus years of experience in the Pinellas County School. As for myself, I've worked in physical therapy for 30 plus years as a licensed therapist. Today we will be discussing, well, basically, Russ and I were talking about this yesterday and previously because we were planning to do the show on this, but due to recent developments with him bombing yesterday, so we kind of have to it up a little bit. So we're going to go with what we got, and we'll talk about the more recent stuff.
Yeah.
That's happened last night. Today we'll be discussing the U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iranian war. Of course, we're siding with Israel as we supply them with finance and weaponry as they, I guess, need it. Once again, this is about weapons of mass destruction. Sounds familiar? Weapons of mass destruction.
Mass destruction. Heard that
Yeah,
before.
that's the real deal.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the reason for the last entanglement
Right.
that we got in?
True.
Yeah.
Which was the bulls.
Yeah. So basically, our efforts, we're involved with this, basically hitting Iran's nuclear and military installations to thwart their attempts for nuclear weapons. Trump says that he does not want a ceasefire. He wants them to end their nuclear program. Now, remember, his last election when he was running, he was all against us getting involved in foreign wars. So now I guess, see, that makes me wonder, what's the underlying thing that they want? Yes, they don't want them to have nuclear capabilities, but there's always something more. It's something more, like under the layers. So that remains to be seen at this point, but that is my curiosity.
Sure.
Okay, so it's been a lot of Iraqis and Iranians. They've been fleeing into North Iraq to get away from Israel's airstrikes by way of assistance of, our assistance anyway. Iran has reported more than 200 people killed while 1,200 injured. Israel has targeted and killed nuclear scientists, their top scientists. Now, this information I got yesterday before the strikes. They've killed 4 of their top scientists and intel people. Iran's supposed to have a nuclear site called Fordow. That's the main one they've been talking about, but it's still 2 others, which is buried 300 feet underground. And that's one of the, like I said, one of the 3 of the main targets. Actually, it's Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. It's, something like that. Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah, so basically taking these out. And the concern is the uranium. They have the uranium. Their concern is the uranium being weaponized.
Right.
But since Trump likes to talk about what he's going to do way in advance, they knew to move that. They knew the bombing was coming at some point. I'm sure the intel let them know that the bombers were moving closer in their area. I'm sure they got all that stuff out. Hence, there is no reports. Although Trump said it was, successful. If they still have the uranium, it's not successful. And also, there's no reports of radiation or increased radiation around the areas. Therefore, meaning to me that they didn't hit those areas as far as the uranium.
Total destruction.
It's a lot going on. So I asked myself, so what started all this? So I dug a little bit
deeper.
We all know it's a holy war. This holy war has been going on. We should never get entangled in this at all from the beginning. But this is about their holy war, and they just need to work that out, which is probably not going to be worked out because they don't recognize each other as a state. But both sides see each other as an existential threat. Israel has accused Iran of having genocidal intentions, while Iran accuses Israel of conducting genocide in Gaza. Remember the Gaza Strait, that issue there. Because of what allegedly happened in Gaza on October 7, 2023, Hamas Palestine militant group that was said to be partially funded by Iran launched an attack against Israel, resulting in deaths of about 1,200 Israelis, mostly civilians, and that started the outbreak of the Gaza war. Okay, Russ, let's get it.
Exactly what you're saying is right, but here's what we have to look at. And I go back and look at, you have two different religions here, as
Yeah.
you stated before. You have the Muslim and you have the Christian.
Yeah.
And then when you look at, and when you look at the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, I think that's what it's called, and you look at President Trump, they are two of the same kind of people.
Exactly.
They are two of the same kind of people. I think no one really knows. When these two people talk with each other directly, nobody knows what they're talking about other than themselves.
Yeah.
So I really believe down the line that they had planned this together. You know, they had planned this together. And Benjamin knew that he had the air power to destroy the air system of Iran.
Right.
But he did not have that type of bombing mechanism to destroy that nucleus environment.
Right.
The only country that has that kind of mechanism is the United States,
Right.
the big bombs, they call it. And believe it or not, Jamie, these things had never been used before.
Yeah.
Never been used before. So I believe somewhere in this conversation between Benjamin and Trump down the line, they planning this thing piece by piece. You take them out by the air and do what you can do, and you soften them up, and I'm gonna come in. And I think I think that's what he did. Now, the question to that, I go back to in 1981, a soul singer by Barbara Womack put out a thing called "Where Do We Go From Here?" That is the question now. Where do we go from here? And I say this in Almighty because now they're looking at, can Iran retaliate? They don't know. We don't know. You see, if you go back to 201, we've been in the Middle East ever since then. Since 201 to the withdrawal of our troops out of Afghanistan. And I never forget that when Biden said to the people, we want to draw our troops out of Afghanistan, and it didn't go down right, you know. You saw it was ugly.
Right.
But I remember President Trump and his boys jumping on that thing and said, boy, you see what happened when you let other people be in charge of your government? They talk so negatively with Biden with that. Now, the question is, are you leading us back into a war in the Middle East?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Are we going back to war in the Middle East?
Yes. Basically, from what I researched, the U.S. is trying to make them unstable. Destabilize their whole regime and force a regime change. You can force a regime change, which they've not been very successful at.
No, they never been.
But if you could force a regime change, then you get new blood in there, new leaders.
Exactly.
And the U.S. is hoping for a more malleable leader that they can kind of control, and you know what I'm saying? That's what they're forcing. But this is a holy war. These people standing 10 toes down on their religious thing, and what they willing to die for it all day.
I believe
they know that they have to know that this is a losing prospect for them because with the assistance of the U.S. But I hear they got like 3,000 bombs and they're willing to use them all. They don't care. They're going to fight to the last heartbeat. You see what I'm saying? Whether win or lose. Now, hopefully with this regime, the U.S. is thinking, okay, we get a regime change. But the problem with regime changes, once the uprisings come, the regime change, and they get a new person in, you give birth to other groups, terror groups like ISIS. That's why ISIS sprung up.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, they were around, but they got more, powerful through the whole regime change, or trying to do it. So it's a lot of fear. It's a lot of fears. And keep in mind, we got cells We got cells right here
Yeah.
that go to school, go to work, whatever. You know, just like with 9/11, they were going to school, learning to fly planes and own this and that. So those are the concern. Trump has kicked the hornet's nest because you got Russia, you got China sitting, said, I told you not to do this. We told you to stay out of it. We were going, you know what I'm saying? We told you to stay out of it. Trump and his, and I say this, and I ain't joking. Trump and all his rich buddies, they got underground cities they can go hide in.
Exactly.
We don't have that.
Exactly.
You know, because it can really come to this. We got that Air Force base right there, MacDill, which is too close for my comfort. Now I wish it was way somewhere else in a whole nother state, but it is what it is.
You know what, Jamie, you go back in history and look at it. At one time, there was a war between Iraq and Iran. I think you remember that history. And I remember that the United States supported Iraq. I never forget this. They sent weapons to Iraq to counter the Iran. It didn't work. So eventually, now we go back with Iraq, with Hussein, with the weapon of mass destruction. Remember that? And we preached that. We got to take out Iraq now because there's something over there that's going to hurt us. And we went in to take out Iraq, and which we did. But there was no such thing as weapon of mass destruction. There were no weapons. It's
always something else. That's why I don't even trust this. I don't even trust this. I mean, now they may have destroyed their facilities because those bombs are known to go down like, I think they said 60 meters and then explode. So that's pretty good. And I'm sure 300 feet, I don't know the math, 300 feet and 60 meters. So I think they did to stabilize the facilities, but the whole point was the uranium. They can go somewhere else. And who knows? That's just 3 we know about, 3 or 4 sites we know about. They got mountains all throughout that spot, man. They probably got plan B because our president gets on air and talk about what he's gonna do. They already knew what he was gonna do. They got spies. They got spies in the U.S. They got spies in Israel. They know, you know what I'm saying? They already knew that this was very possible. So they went to the plan B.
Right.
You see what I mean? That's why there's no, you would think it would be radiation all throughout the city. There's no radiation because they moved that.
And you're so right.
They moved the uranium.
You're so right about that. If you look at all the countries, the Libya, the Afghanistan, the Yemen, they didn't have this nuclear capability.
Right.
Iran does. And the question is, with Iran, they're trying to figure out, have they figured a way to produce a missile to deliver a nuclear warhead? They don't know today. We don't know today.
We don't know.
We don't. But here's what it is. I think you remember back in Obama time that we gave money that Iran had, and we gave it back to them. But we gave them back to them to say, okay, let's do it. Let's talk about your nuclear program. We need to investigate where you are.
Right.
And I remember Obama signing that deal with Iran to have inspectors to come in to kind of investigate how far this program was going. And I remember the time when people in the United States was jumping on Obama like, hey, man, he should have done that. He shouldn't have done that. As soon as Trump became president, one of the first thing he did was to get away from that signing that Obama did. That was a true.
You want to do everything, undo everything.
That was a tremendous mistake. At least we could go in and investigate some of it.
Yeah.
We had some
diplomacy where we could go in and out and
we had some diplomacy with the signing of that. Now, but when he told that they're going to pull out of that deal, the Iranians loved it.
Yeah.
That's when they start saying, okay, you ain't got nobody coming in here now.
Right.
But that's what that big mistake. Trump knew that.
Yeah.
That's why he was trying. Here it is, James. That's why he was trying to do a deal with Iran, because he would have to do the same deal Obama did. He didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay. He is. And I listened to his so-called victory speech. It's disgusting, nauseating. But you know, it kind of makes you wonder, like Kim Jong-un in North Korea. That's why he's like, I have bombs. I'm gonna test them.
Yeah.
Because y'all basically, so not to get done like the Iran. not to be done like Iran.
Yeah.
Because we ain't gonna do that to Kim Jong-un. Because we know he got them, and he said, I have them and I will use them. So that's why they want it, not to be a threat. Well, I guess kind of to be a threat, but not to actually use it if there's a confrontation. It's just to say I have it. So in other words, this is my bodyguard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This nuclear stuff is my bodyguard. So y'all ain't gonna flex on me. That's why we're not all over Kim Jong-un's behind.
Yeah.
Because he has it.
Sure.
That's why we back off. But they don't have it. So they're trying to get it, but we got to stop. We should have never gotten involved in that. Trump should have stuck to his word during his first term that he was not going to get involved in stuff like that.
Truly.
Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He is an idiot. He's just chaotic.
He is very chaotic. And see what he has done. If you look at his cabinet, what that boy named Peter.
Yeah, everybody's a do boy.
He is a do boy. I listened to him this morning. He said, "Well, what we have done, we have destroyed the ambition of the Iranian people." What do you mean, the ambition? I don't understand. This is a do boy. Want every time he comes up, I just watch his face.
Mm-hmm.
This man got no type of reason being Secretary of State. None whatsoever. But
it's the ring.
Yeah. But let me go back to Trump. Here's another thing too. Trump knows that he has kind of divided his political party now, because there's some Republicans say, "Oh no, man, you're doing something wrong.
You shouldn't have did that.
You shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you shouldn't have done that." So now he got questioning within his party, even with the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
There's some split on the Democrats too. And on top of that, here's the thing, Jamie. Everything that Trump has done has been through executive orders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is he going through congressional movement with this? Yeah, make you wonder. That's right.
I really don't think
Constitutional crisis. That's what we're coming up with.
And it makes you wonder, like, what Congress actually vote? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what James.
But they follow everything he does. This is serious, man.
That's right.
This could be fighting on our own turf.
That's
We're not
right.
used to fighting on our own turf.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like that movie Black Hawk Down. We went over there and
Exactly.
that African beat us with sticks and
That's
spears
right.
and bow and arrows, and we had all this fancy stuff. Well, we don't fight like that over here. We don't fight like that. We've never had to fight. So I'm running and hiding like everybody else.
I think the question that we really got to ask ourselves, and even everybody, the question is, why did the United States strike Iran? That's a hell of a question. Heck of a question.
If there are some underlying reasons that we might not know until 15, 20 years later. They've always known that they've tried to get a nuclear program. This is nothing new. They've always known. A bunch of countries out there trying to get it. We're targeting them for a specific reason. But since we're in bed with Israel now, you know what I mean? We're flexing. The question is, could Israel have done this on their own? Well, not this type of strike. No, they couldn't have done this type of strike.
No, they
just would have been this war, man. This thing is ongoing. Why get involved? It's ongoing.
You see, James, you hit it right on the head. Israel could not take this thing on, like you said. What Nehu did, the prime minister, you got to butt up Trump. And here's what he told Trump. He said, if you come into this war, you can change history. Oh, man.
Blow it here.
You take an egotistical guy like that, and you tell him something like that, he is not listening to nobody but that.
Ego driven.
And that's what I think is happening.
And his speech afterwards was just kissing Trump's ring.
That's right. That's right.
Trump, and there will be more destruction. And it was easy. It was really easy.
You ever listen to Trump? He said they had total annihilation.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I caught some news, the actual Iranian news thing. It was like, oh, Trump's going on and on about how successful it was. And, oh, it was really good. But they was like, no, they had already moved that stuff. The lady said it.
Yeah.
The newscaster for Iranian news already said that stuff. They gave them too much time. You don't tell somebody, I'm gonna rob your house at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. They ready for you. Are they gonna move the valuables out? That's what they did. They moved the valuables out. You're an idiot. You don't know how to sneak attack.
You're so right. Yeah, see, success is built. You're right, Jamie. You're right. The idiots, man. You're so right with that. And it just be, I just can't believe when I listen to the newscasts of the Republican people or people in boy, Trump has done a beautiful job, a massive, precise precision attack. Okay, yeah, truly it was precision attack. But total annihilation, how do you measure that?
Why would you want that?
Why would you want? Yeah, why would you want that?
Both sides have been getting beat up pretty good.
Yeah, why would
They
you
both
want
have,
that?
a lot of death, a lot of, they were saying that, oh, Iran hit something in Israel, a hospital. Well, then their naval base is not far, so it could have been like a miscalculation. And then Iran is saying that wasn't our intention. It happened, but
Yeah.
it wasn't our intention to hit a hospital. You know what I mean? But they're blowing that up and just kind of like really, it's a lot of, we should not be in
No,
that.
man, we should not.
We're claiming we don't have money, we're cutting cost over here, but yet we're financing, we're giving them weaponry, we're doing all type of stuff. We are, and our soldiers, there's no way around it. It's just not gonna be airstrikes anymore. It's still gonna be some underground stuff. These people have been fighting for 10,000 years.
Man.
They know how to get it. They know how to hide in the mountains.
That's
They're living in mountains for months.
You're not beating them.
Eating rattlesnakes and rats.
Yeah,
They
you're
know
not
how to
beating
lay.
You're not beating them.
You know what I'm saying?
You're not
We're
beating
not going to beat them, and that's their terrain.
Yeah.
My concern, we don't need nothing coming over here. Because that's the first thing I thought. Because Israel ain't the problem.
No.
It's China and Russia. What's going on? What are they thinking? What are they talking about? They warned us. That's my real concern.
And you're so right about that. I think we got to look at Russia and China being allies of
Yeah.
Iran.
Yeah.
What are they
really
going to do?
about that.
Because you know that Iran, when Russia went into Ukraine, it was Iran who sent them a lot of drones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of drones. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of drones.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the effects going to be with Iran? I'm gonna say with those kind of allies.
Right.
Russian allies. So I really don't know.
Yeah.
But Jamie, I go back when we first started to do this, and I listened to what Trump saying when he said, I may do it, I may not do it, nobody know what I'm going to do. See, all of that was bull.
Yeah, because he gave him 2 weeks at first. Remember? He said, come to a deal or agreement in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Then he turned right. That's talking about some bipolar.
He was setting that thing up there. He was setting it up, Jamie.
It was already, yeah.
That relation between he and the Prime Minister of Israel,
Yeah.
that's where it is.
All
That's
right.
where it is.
You're going to get Steve banging mad again. You're going to get Steve, but you know what?
Boy,
mad again.
that is something else. I just think he's just ego tripping.
He is. He's a narcissist.
Yeah, that's what he is. You sell his ego, man.
Yeah,
I think that's the way you have to beat Trump. Sell his ego, do his ego.
But now the effects on American people and our economy. Like, look at our economy. Those are oil places.
Yeah.
Crude's gonna go up.
Yeah.
It still puts us in a situation, and not on top of that, we're in a war. Then we got this other tariff stuff going on. He done piss all these other countries off. You see what I mean? So we gotta be, we're gonna be in a bad situation unless some things are walked back or corrected. And I can't see Iran. I would like for them to sit down and come to the table and work it out. We need peace in the Middle East. We need we need peace because the people that stands to benefit are the haves. It's just like when a poor person house goes into foreclosure. You got some rich guy waiting to snatch it up. So China and Russia are waiting to swoop in. You understand?
Exactly.
While they're grinding it out, they're waiting to swoop in and pick the fruits, so to speak.
Like
we are too, Americans. That's what we do too.
And one of the things that you said that will benefit if we can do it. See, we don't have direct talk with Iran. We always have to have indirect talk. Nothing can be solved indirectly. I don't care how you look at it.
Right.
Nothing can be solved indirectly.
You need face-to-face.
You need face-to-face. We have to have direct talk. See, that was a problem when Trump is trying to talk for the people of
Israel.
Not the people of Israel, the Russian and the Ukraine. When Trump was trying to talk for the Ukrainians, you cannot talk for them.
He's a bad person to talk for anybody.
You cannot talk that. And that's what I got when he went on the president of Ukraine, when he went to Washington, they tried to kill him. They try to shoot him down with words. He's no. I got to back out of this. Y'all crazy. Because y'all trying to talk for me, and I know what's going on. You cannot solve anything indirectly.
Right.
Unless we could directly talk with the Iranian government, the Iranian people, we will never solve
But
this.
Trump is so disrespectful when he meets these people. He's a bully.
That's
He's like, no, you're gonna do it. You know,
That's
kind of
right.
he's like that.
That's
You're
right.
gonna do it. I don't care.
Because he's Donald Trump.
And he's a bully.
He's a
He
bully.
makes people
That's right.
hate us.
That's right.
So we're probably losing allies.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned, not just about this, but
Yeah.
with the combination of this, the tariffs, it's a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of other countries stand to gain on our stupidity of this bad move.
It is a bad move. He's very evasive, very evasive. And then nothing that he sees comes his way, he just tell you, no, it can't happen. I'm the store. You got to come to me. And see, that's the thing too. And you said this. Trump sees himself as the political empire in everything.
He is the United States.
He is the United States. He says, I am.
Yeah.
And if you don't come to me, you can't get it solved. I can solve that. Remember when he said, if I was president, this war would never take place. That's bull. Yeah. It's his arrogant, his egotistical self that has put us in this kind of state. And nobody want to tackle.
Yeah.
No, because they're scared. They're scared of it.
Yeah.
Grown people scared of Trump. That's just amazing to me.
Well, that's what he did. A bunch of cowards in his two boys and cowards.
Two boys
and cowards in his cabinet that he can run and control. But honestly, I am very concerned about this recent situation here with the airstrikes and stuff. And
truly.
Not because they did that, but because of, and I'm gonna say it again, because of Russia and China. Like my thing is, what are they gonna do? It's not so much what Iran gonna do. What are they gonna do?
But you know, Jamie, if you don't think about it, you know what I mean? You got 80,000 soldiers who are employed in that area. 80,000. What's going to happen to them 80,000 over there? They don't know.
Right. Well,
they don't know because of this egotistical thing that Trump's doing. It's going to cost us. It's going to cost us. Yeah. And I go back and I say to people, please read. Go back and look at 218 when he pulled out of that deal with Iran, that nuclear deal. And then all of a sudden, this year, he felt that I got to go back and do this again. But he didn't want to do it because he knew that was Obama stuff. He wanted to say, I did it. Boy,
he wants the credit.
He wants the credit.
He wants the credit.
He wants the credit. And that's what Netanyahu told him. If you help me, look how you would change history.
Right.
And that's something.
He blew his head up. He uses him. He blew his head up. And Trump, I mean, Trump is really not political.
No, he's not a political.
Any decisions that he's made, he's got somebody whispering in his ear, guiding him. But he is not political. I never saw him as political. They just needed him in place for the 2025 tax cut, you know.
The man is a celebrity. That's what he is.
And that's it.
He's a celebrity. That's all he is.
If you guys are religious people out there, we need to pray. Serious talk, not a joke. We need to pray because it's real. There can be some things that can change our life. I got to stop watching all these movies where, you know, bombs done blew up and now you're living underground. I got to stop watching all this stuff because it's looking kind of real. But anyway, we're wrapping it up. We're getting to the end. I would like to thank you guys for joining us this episode, and we could be heard every Tuesday at 5:30, 99.1 FM The Bird. Hell of a station, ran by the great Don.
The great Don. Lovely. Good station.
We also can be seen on visually on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
And yeah, serious talk, people. We need to get some prayers in because this thing is real. We don't know. Hopefully they can work it out. But we have a very arrogant leader who cares for no one.
No one.
So put your hands together, bow your head, talk with the Almighty. We out.
Good one, King. Good one.